How's everybody doing? It was a good day? It's always a good day at Mark seminars. I love speaking for Mark because we just attract people that are excited and really want to learn. And it's not just one of those sit in the seat and get your hours kind of a seminar. You know what I mean? You know, heads are nodding. I know you know what I mean. My name is Dr. Landon Amonette, and I'm a chiropractor just like you. In fact, 6 months ago, I was sitting right where you were sitting, getting my full day of CEUs. So I know exactly what it's like. Thank you for joining me on National Chiropractors Day Off, also known as Thursday for the rest of the world, right? What an amazing thing we have.
And by the way, happy birthday, chiropractic, September 18th.
That's right.
Today, the
Yes.
birthday of chiropractic.
Yeah, what an honor it is to speak on the birthday of chiropractic. And thanks to Dee Dee Palmer and Harvey Lillard for making all that happen for us, and the giants who came before us to be able to even practice and do what we love, right? So I'd like to start off by telling you a little story. Is that okay? I tell you a story?
Yeah.
So, thank you. Once upon a time, there was a little boy, and this little boy, he grew up in a state of total perpetual fear. See, if you asked this little boy what his first memory was, he would tell you that his first memory was of having a broken heart and seeing a broken heart. This little boy's first memory was seeing his mom at the front door and his father on the porch, and he wasn't sure what was happening, but they were both crying. He later found out that they were getting divorced, and his mom kissed his dad goodbye, and then he never entered that home again. And the result was that their family suffered and struggled in poverty. And his mom wasn't because she didn't do the best she could. She really tried. Honestly, I don't know how she did it. She was grieving the loss of 2 babies and raising 5 others. And she carried on and pressed on, but the subluxations, they just kept coming. And this little boy, he decided that sports was going to be his outlet. It was going to be his normalcy. And he loved baseball. He became completely and totally in love with baseball. And he loved the feeling of the stitches of a baseball. He would just feel them over and over again. And the smell of a baseball mitt, if you oiled it and then put a rubber band around it with a ball inside and left it overnight. He loved the sound. Oh, you're so sweet. She is so nice. You should keep her. He loved the sound of a bat when it cracked the ball, and you just knew it was going to be a stand-up double. You know what I mean? Like you're just going to walk right on to second base and park there for a minute. So he loved baseball, and he played baseball. And one Saturday morning was just like any other Saturday morning. He went to a baseball diamond with some of his friends. And his friend was on the pitcher's mound, and his other friend got into the batter's box, and they said, "Landon, why don't you go play catcher?" And I said, "I'm your Huckleberry." I got behind home plate, and his friend just threw a fastball straight down the middle, and his other friend swung for the fence, and it was a foul tip, and it came straight back, and I only had time just to turn my head just enough. And unfortunately, I wasn't wearing any protective gear, and the ball knocked me right in the left side of the face. And I was a tough kid, so I shook it off. And I didn't tell my mom, I didn't want to get grounded because I wasn't wearing any protective gear. I wanted to play baseball again, and I knew that she was going to say, "I don't think you should play baseball for a little while, Landon." It's a poor lapse of judgment. So I went home and I started to develop these headaches, and my mom did what any mom would do in the 90s, is she gave me an aspirin for the pain, to kill the pain. Interestingly enough, we don't give kids aspirin anymore at all because of Reye syndrome. Like what they think they know, they find out 7 years later that it's not actually the right thing to do, and then you see a commercial on TV that they shouldn't have done that thing in the first place, and then we're crazy because we want to adjust people and have their health restored from the inside out. Meanwhile, just pharmaceutical and big pharma is just killing massive amounts of people. And that doesn't mean we don't need them. Like if someone's having a heart attack, like get that fixed, but maybe we adjust them so they don't have those problems in the first place, right? So I took the aspirin and we killed the pain, but the headaches kept coming. And then my sister came home from school and she said, "Mom, what's wrong with Landon's lip? His face isn't moving." Like it was just the lower part of my lip. It was very subtle, you could hardly tell. And my mom went up to me and she said, "Smile, boy." She grabbed my face and I smiled, and she's like, "We got to go to the doctor." So we went right away to the medical doctor. And they ran a bunch of tests, and they did everything that they were supposed to do. They ran MRIs and nerve tests and all these different things, and they basically said, you have Bell's palsy, paralysis of the facial nerve, and most of those get better on their own. So here's another drug to take for the headaches, and then most of them get better on their own. So we'll just wait and see. Went home, took that drug. Unfortunately, my body had a chemical reaction with that drug, and I started to have these rebound headaches. All I could describe it as 10 out of 10 pain, the kind of pain that you just want to get into a dark room. And that chapter of my life became called the dark room because I didn't want to leave the dark room. It was dark because I felt isolated. The paralysis got worse, the headaches continued, and this pain made you want to just throw up. And I still remember the sound of my mom's voice as I would be screaming because I didn't need an alarm clock. Started waking up at 7 a.m. with a headache on the dot. My mom, come to my room, what's wrong, back to the doctor we went, here's a different drug to try. And then I had to be taken out of school and homeschooled because I couldn't function for the first 3 to 4 hours of the day. Eventually they got me on a cocktail of medicine that kind of worked. I was down to 1 migraine a week. And then that was my life. I isolated myself to that dark room. I isolated myself from people because the paralysis got worse. And I don't even know if you've ever met like 12, 13, or 14-year-old boys, but they don't really treat you real nice when you smile different or look different. So I resorted to the only thing I could figure out, which was if I was gonna get bullied, I'd just try and take out the biggest guy and they'd all stop talking. But the real truth is that violence didn't solve anything. It just stopped me from getting beat up. And I started to push away love. The emotional traumas that I had were in some ways worse than the physical trauma that I was suffering because I started to even push away my family. The truth is that my brothers and sisters, they walked on eggshells around me because they didn't know what my internal state was. And if I was in pain, then that pain would express itself verbally with them. And for years, that was my life. Until I was about 16 years old. And at one point I even considered just saying, that's it, I can't take anymore. And thank God I didn't. Because one day a friend of ours said, you should go see our doctor, he's different. I think he can help you. And at that point I had seen every specialist in San Diego, at least of each type that would maybe help my condition. And I said, I don't want to go to any doctors. I have doc-itis, inflammation of doctors' offices. And you can laugh at my jokes, they're very funny. And reluctantly though, I went and I walked into this office and the healing started when I walked into the room. The healing started when I walked into the room. The CA came around the front desk and she said, hi, you must be Landon, we've been expecting you. I really think my doctor can help you and I hope that he can. I was not used to that at all. I was used to this really neat contraption called the go to hell window. They don't have them anymore, but in like the 90s, they had them like all over every doctor's office. They would say, can I have your insurance card? Thank you very much. And they'd slam the door on you. And then I went in and I talked to this doctor. And for the first time, I felt like someone listened to me. He asked me what had happened to me and he let me tell my story. Similarly to how I told it to you, I told him everything and he wasn't pressed for time. He was engaged in listening to me. And then he did this active listening where he told the whole story right back to me, almost verbatim, using my own words, and I felt completely heard. And then he started to explain to me that my body was the most amazing thing ever created, and it's a self-healing, self-regulating organism, and that the central nervous system controls and coordinates all function of the body, even to the cellular level. And you don't have disease, you have dis-ease, and he hyphenated the word, and he said all we have to do is remove the interference so that the body can express its normal process, which is health. He said, have you ever had a paper cut, Landon? And I said, yeah, I've had a paper cut. He said, did you have to tell your body to start healing that paper cut? I said, no, it did it on its own. And he reaffirmed what he had just told me. And then he shared with me that what if we went in and we started physically traumatizing that cut? Would it heal? What if we put chemicals in it and stop the process from healing? We put chemical interference in it. Would it heal? He said, what if we even thought negative thoughts to it? We know that if we take two plants and we say happy thoughts to that plant and negative thoughts to that plant, they grow differently. You guys know that? He said, all we have to do is remove the chemical, structural, emotional interferences, and those happen in your spine and your body. Those are called subluxations, and we should remove them and see how your body expresses itself. And then he said the one thing that I'll never forget, and I've said it 1,000 times in my career as a chiropractor, he said, Landon, I don't know if I can fix your Bell's palsy. I don't even know if I can fix your headaches, but I do know that your life will be better as a patient in my office. I left that office with real hope, not false hope, trying to sign me up for a care plan hope, real hope. And that was the first miracle that had happened to me as a chiropractor before I even got adjusted by him, is he gave me hope. And as subsequently I came in and I paid for one visit, and then my grandma paid for the next. I paid for one visit and my grandma paid for, we didn't have money. I paid for one visit and my grandma paid for the next. And a month later, the second miracle happened. In 1 month after getting adjusted, I had one headache. 1 month turned into 2 with no headaches, and 3, and then I knew what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I wanted to remove the cause of interference from the brain to the body and restore the body's innate ability to heal itself. So I became the top referrer in that office. His name was Dr. David Barker, and that chiropractor saved my life. He saved my life. I didn't want to do it anymore, you guys. I was checked out, and I was told that there was nothing that could be done, and that it was probably just going to get worse. That's what doctors were telling me. How could I, as a 14-year-old kid, what could I do differently? So I brought back the locus of control for my own health back to me, and I was able to start eating different and thinking different. And before I even started getting well, getting off of all the drugs, people would ask me, how you doing? And I'd say, I'm awesome. And it was both like an affirmation. It was that Muhammad Ali thing, I am the greatest. I told myself I was before I was, right? And I started to get really into mindset and positive affirmations and positive thinking. He did this technique called the neuro-emotional technique. Have any of you ever heard of that? Yeah. So I later was certified in it. And he took me in front of a mirror and he said, smile at the mirror. And I weakened every time. I couldn't even smile at myself. And then he said a bunch of things that I thought were totally whack, and like, you know, it was like a magic trick. And he got to one emotion, and for the life of me, I can't remember what it was, but he said that emotion, my arm went down and I just started to cry. And I let loose. I hadn't cried like that since before the accident. And it was like I was the only one in the room. I was just crying and crying, and he's adjusting my spine by tapping on it as I'm breathing. And then when I was done crying, I came to, I looked in the mirror, and he said, smile now, like solid rock. You have to understand, before I met this chiropractor, I could barely talk to my own brother properly, let alone get in front of a room with you fine people and say anything. Because of the hearts of a chiropractor, that's why I'm standing here before you today. Later in my career, once I became a chiropractor, Dr. Barker found me. He had been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and he found me on the Neuro-Emotional Technique website. And he said, Landon, I'd like to come and I'd like you to be my chiropractor. So the student was able to minister to the teacher. And that was some of the best things in my career, was to remove those NECs that he had about getting cancer, because he wanted to have quality relationships with his family, you know, whether he was going to beat the cancer or not. May his soul rest in heaven. So thanks for listening to my story. We have to tell the story. We have to continue to tell the story. And it's my story is unique and completely unique. And each one of your stories is unique, but as a profession, it is not unique that we have a story that brought us to this profession. And that's one of the things that makes us so great. So I will implore you to share your story, share it with everyone. Tell your story about why you became a chiropractor, why you chose to become a chiropractor. Or maybe it's the other way around. So I have two main objectives today. One of them is that I want to learn something from all of you that I can take to my office next week and help more people. Because chiropractic is a participation profession, and we learn from each other. There's an art, right? There's the art, science, and philosophy of chiropractic. And so there's an art. One time I was at a seminar, and this guy taught me this Pedibond move, where you like put someone in, you know, prone position, and you're adjusting the occiput, and then you like kicked me in the head. and that audible went, and it was like, wow, that was smooth. Like, it was neat. Someone has a move in here that they just love, and they use it all the time. I want to learn that from you. So if you have a move that you love, feel free to let me know. I'd love to learn it. The other thing is I'd like to teach you something that you can take with you, that you can help more people in your practice, whether it's tomorrow or it's on Monday, or maybe you work Saturdays and Sundays because you can't get enough. You know, it's fun. We get to go in and we get to put our hands on people and have them leave feeling and living better, right? So the first thing I'm going to teach you is this thing I learned from Dr. James Chestnut, and it's called a wall angel. So, and that's great because it's after lunch and we're going to get up and move around a little bit. So let's do that. You guys know James Chestnut? Anybody? Yes. Okay. So he's fantastic. I took his wellness certification course with Billy at DCS, and it was fantastic. So what we're going to do is we're going to find a wall. So everybody can stand up. We'll get the blood flowing. I'm going to use this wall back here. So we give this to every patient, almost every patient, on their day care. So what we want to do, and you guys all know this stuff, and maybe you know a way of doing it differently than I do. Have you ever been in a seminar where there's like two speakers? You guys ever been in that seminar before? There's a speaker who's up here teaching everything, and then there's the other speaker that's sitting down and just can't wait to share everything that they've learned over their 42 years of being a professional. Okay, you can use this one. Yeah, don't be that person, okay? If you have a different way of doing something, feel free to tell me. Just tell me privately or ping me on Instagram and let me know how you know how to do it better than I taught. And then maybe I'll change it, or maybe I'll just thank you and tell you have a nice day. So what we're gonna do is a wall angel. And postural muscles are under subconscious control for the most part. We can override that subconscious control, right? We can stand at attention and we can go like this. And then the second we stop standing at attention, we do what? We go to our default posture, whatever that is, right? And so what we want to do with the wall angel is we want to reprogram our default posture by getting those extensor muscles and turning those deer paths into super highways. And the best way that I found to do that is what Dr. James Chestnut taught me, which is the wall angel. So I'll do it first and then you guys can do it. So we're gonna find the wall without any stuff on it. As you can see, that's the hardest part, even in a hotel. But now we found the wall without any stuff on it. So you want your feet about 6 inches off the wall, and then shoulder width apart. And then you're gonna tuck your hips so your lower back stays flat on the wall. You're gonna hold that pelvic tilt, so you're using those lower muscles, those pyramidalis muscles, right, to do that pelvic tilt. And I know you guys know this, but a lot of people have a hard time even doing that, right? Our patients, even that pelvic tilt and just holding that pelvic tilt. Once we have that pelvic tilt, your head is against the wall and then your arms come up. You're about 90 degrees here, right? Are you okay? Okay. So you're at 90 degrees here. Now, first order of business is to keep that pelvic tilt. Do not let your lower back come off the wall. Second order of business is to have your arms, you want to end with your biceps up toward your ears and your elbows totally locked out. If your elbows are like this, you're cheating and you're not getting the full benefit of the exercise, right? So elbows totally locked out wherever they are. And then the last order of business is to try and stay on the wall, right? So it looks like this. It's a cadence of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up. Get that last little bit. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, down, squeezing the shoulder blades together. Lower back staying on the wall. When I first started doing this, Dr. Chestnut showed it. I'm like, easy, piece of cake. I get out there, I was like, I had to do this for months and months. But the beauty is I kept doing it. And over time, now as you can see, I'm still working on myself, but I can get right, I did come off right at the end, get that last little bit, and then come back down and squeeze those shoulder blades together like that. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, down. Lower back stays on the wall. If you need to, you should come up and come in front of your, off the wall, as much as you need to get that full expression, and end here, right? All right, let's do 5 of them. Ready? Wherever you are, and it shouldn't hurt. It should feel like a big stretch. If it hurts, you're trying to stay on the wall, you're trying to run before you can walk, okay? So we're gonna walk. Ready? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up, wherever you are. If you need to come forward to get those elbows straight, there you go. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, down, squeeze. Make sure you breathe, nobody passes out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up, straight, straight, straight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, down. That's 2. We do 15 in the morning, 15 at night. Every time we brush our teeth. Nice big breaths. If you have shoulder problems, all the more reason to do it. Just find your starting place. All right, one more and we're done for today. 3, 4, 5, down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up. Good. Now watch, when you stand up, notice what it feels like. You feel that? That full extensor pathway, neurology is just turned on, right? You're standing upright, standing up better without even thinking about it. You create a new default posture. Yeah? Nice. Awesome. Good job. Whew. Blood's flowing. Awesome. Okay. Now, one of the reasons why I teach that to every, how do you open this? This way. Open.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I teach that, one of the reasons I teach that to every new patient is we check their posture with that posture screen mobile app. You guys know that app? Great adjunct, add it to your x-ray, or if you don't do x-ray, definitely you can add that as an objective measure. And most everyone has the same, really similar posture patterns, right? We're all doing this, we're all doing this, or most of us, right? We're all doing something in front, right? We can all agree with that. So no matter what we're doing something in front. So we get flexor dominant, anterior head carriage. This tech neck thing is like the next epidemic, right? You're getting kids. Imagine growing up and having an iPhone when you're 3, 4 years old in your whole life. You know, I got my first cell phone when I was 18, right? These kids are getting cell phones way earlier, right? And so with our kids, one of the things, my wife and I have 4 children, and one of the things that is a standard, like we do not compromise on, is if our kids are on a screen, they have to lay on their stomach. Because when they do, what happens? They have to play on the device like this. So at least they're in extension. The other thing that happens is they can't do it for very long until their hands start to go numb, so they automatically give themselves a break. It's brilliant. And it's because the alternative is what kids do, and you probably see this in your office. If you see kids in your office at all, if they're on a device, they're like this. Teenagers are the worst. They're like this, and then if they're reading anything, what's the universal body language for sadness? Right? And then we're looking at devices, and God knows what we're looking at. So, when we're doing that wall angel with the patient on their day 2, all of my doctors have been doing it for some time, and the more you do it, you'll rapidly get better at it. If you didn't like how you performed in that last exercise, you will get better quickly if you commit to doing that in the morning and at night. If you do it every time you brush your teeth, it's like a little trigger to remind you, because everybody who brushed their teeth this morning, I'm staying away from the hands that didn't go up. So we brush your teeth every morning, you do wall angels. It's just Pavlovian, right? And then when you do it, you'll get patients and you'll show them a wall angel, and then guess what? They're gonna go, oh, that looks easy, because it does. It looks really easy. But when you try and do it for the first time, if you're doing this in your 9 to 5 or your everyday life, you gotta turn on those extensors, and then something amazing happens. The person automatically turns and looks to you because you can do something that they cannot do. And then that is one of the highest forms of influence. When someone looks and says, I want to be like you, they will follow you, and you will be an automatic leader. And isn't that what we want to do? The word doctor means teacher. We want to lead our patients into a way of better living, which is the chiropractic paradigm, right? a healthier way of eating, thinking, moving, right? Sleeping, all these things. So check that out. Think about adding that into your normal process. It'll take you an extra 3 or 4 minutes. I think it's totally worthwhile. And I don't know about you guys, but we just did that, and like you can feel the change that happens in you physiologically, right? All that blood flow going. So this is me right after the injury. You can see, oops. You can see just the lower part of my left lip just wasn't working all the way. Some things never change though. I still have amazing hair, so it's good. Then this is me about a year and a half later. I stopped smiling for pictures. Just wanted to hang out in that dark room. Didn't want to come out. What else? Okay, words have power based on who speaks them. So I'm going to say like I, so you get an idea of who I am, but it's really important to me that when I say I did this or I did that, you understand that I didn't do anything. I can do no good other than the good that God flows through me. And that is the God's honest truth. So I'm a hope dealer, not a dope dealer. You know, we went to a medical doctor once. My son was in the back seat of our car, and he was spinning a dollar coin like this. It's like out of a freaking cartoon. My wife did a U-turn. I'm at home. She does a U-turn, and he's spinning the coin, and he's 9.5 years old, and the coin, like out of a cartoon, goes, oh, and he swallowed it. The freaking thing gets stuck in his esophagus. He chokes. He chokes so that he can swallow it. And then she happened to be right next to an urgent care. She pulls in, she calls me. She's like, there's an urgent care right here. He's like, it hurts, but he's breathing. I'm like, go to the urgent care. She rushes into the urgent care. You can see this scene is my wife. She's gorgeous. And she's got this kid, and he's like, but he's breathing, and 3 other kids with her, right? And then they take him straight back. I'm already in the car, and I beeline down there. I'm about 5 minutes away. They take him back. They had his vitals done, and I walk in and I say, "Hi, I'm Dr. Eminem. I'm a chiropractor." And he goes, "Hi, I'm Dr. Billy, and I'm an ER attending physician. I just moonlight here at this urgent care for fun on the weekends." I'm like, awesome. And so he checks him out, and he says, "It's right there. You know, he's saying it hurts right here. I think it's right here. You got to go to Children's Hospital." We go to Children's Hospital. And within like 30 minutes, they had an x-ray. They showed me where the coin was. They said, we got to get it out of there. And thank God, modern medicine, they give him anesthesia, put him under. She's like, it's going to take 40 minutes. 5 minutes later, she's like, hey, I've been looking for you. Is everything okay? She's like, yeah, he's fine. He's already out. Got that thing out. You can't have it. We got to send it to the lab. Anything we take out of the human body, we got to send to the lab. Like, you can have the coin. I'll give him another one. But isn't that amazing, right? Medicine can put someone to sleep, cut them open, fix them up, but why would you do this? If your house is on fire, you call who? Play along with you guys are so tired and bored. If your house is on fire, who do you call? Fire department. Thank you. You call the fire department. And what do? They come with axes and hoses, and they smash windows, and they flood the place trying to save your house, right? And can they save the house? Yeah, thank God for it, right? They stop it from completely burning down to dust. But the next morning, would you then call the fire department and say, hey guys, thanks for coming over and saving my house. Can you now come over and rebuild this place? No, you would never call the fire department for that. You need someone with a completely different philosophy, attention to detail, and specialty to then rebuild the house. And honestly, if you are sick enough to have to call that fire department, you need chiropractic care. Why don't we get it before we even call the fire department in the first place? You with me? Okay. So I'm grateful that they did that. But then we had to do what? We had to detox my son because they put him on all that anesthesia, because that, who knows what that's going to do to them if we don't detox him, right? I adjusted him like crazy because he had all that trauma, the emotional trauma. I did the neuro-emotional technique on him to desensitize him, and I adjusted those psychosomatic subluxations that he had developed, right? Okay, I'm gonna go through this really fast because just so you know where I'm coming from. I became an associate for 3 years. I think associates have a 3-year life cycle for the most part. First year is gratitude. Thank you for having me. I'm so glad. I can't wait to learn from you. I'm so glad that you hired me and picked me out of everybody. First year. Second year, I don't like the paint color in room 2. I think it's yellow. I think it should be blue. Like, who cares? They want their opinion to matter, and they want to change random things that don't really make a difference, but they want to be heard. The third year, they start doing this weird thing called chiropractic math. Not all of them, some of them. I did it. This is why I can tell this story like this. They do chiropractic math. They don't know what it actually costs to run a business or the stress that's associated with it. And they start thinking, I'm just getting this guy rich. I'm going to go out on my own and do it on my own without him or her. Chiropractic life cycle. The only way to fix that chiropractic life cycle is to have an associateship position that you can actually lead the person to become a star, right? No one who ever became a chiropractor woke up, went to the breakfast table and said, Mom, I know what I want to be when I grow up. You know how there's Batman and Robin? I want to be Robin. Said no chiropractor ever. We all want to be Batman or Superwoman. We don't want to be the second, what do they call it? Sidekick. No chiropractor wants to be a sidekick. They have those in the rest of the other allied health professions, right? I won't name any names, but you know my point. So we got to raise stars. We create stars. You find stars, you cultivate talent, you teach them what they need to know, and then you trust them to go out and take the football and be a star. So I acquired my first practice in 2012, and then Dr. Awesome was born. And I had this lady who came in, and she had horrible headaches, and for whatever reason, she'd been to 100 chiropractors and 2 physical therapists and an orthopedic surgeon, and no one could get her well. And then she laid on my table, and the miracle happened, right? She got better. Has that ever happened to you? Ed's nodding, I'll take that. And then have you ever had to send someone somewhere else, and then they got better somewhere else? Yeah, me too, right? Keeps me humble and hungry to learn more so I can help the next 10 people. But the miracle happened for her in my office, thankfully. And she said, I gotta be honest with you, I've never called you by your last name. It's French, and it's Aminette. She's like, I'm gonna call you Dr. Awesome. And I said, oh God, please don't do that. At the time, our business name was Wellness and Prevention Center of San Diego. It's a mouthful. And she said, no, I'm gonna call you Dr. Awesome. And she would not stop. And then we got as a gag, we bought like 1,000 cards from Vistaprint and put them out there, and they said Dr. Awesome on them, and they were gone in like 3 days. I was like, wow. So then we became Awesome Family Chiropractic, and then I had to live it. So I became Dr. Awesome. One Halloween, she sent me a cape. I wore the cape around, the kids loved it. About 1/3 of our practice is kids, and then another 10% or 20% is pregnant women. So it worked really well, our superhero theme in our office. And then COVID hit and they mandated masks, so I mandated capes. Why? Because they're good for your posture. And so we had a bunch of kids run around, they run around Costco in the capes that we have and give them out to kids, and it's just a fun thing. And the answer is like everyone is awesome. You're awesome, you're made for awesomeness. So you just gotta let that awesomeness shine, right? In the last 10 years, I've acquired 14 practices. Most of those we brought into our existing brick and mortar practices. In your town, there's probably a chiropractor who may be looking to retire, but he doesn't know who to send his people to most of the time. And if you're a younger chiropractor, there's never been a better time to acquire other doctors' practices and then bring them into your existing brick and mortar location. Got a whole system for that, and it's phenomenal. It's done us really well. We also opened up 2 other brick and mortar locations. The geographic location for a chiropractic practice, if you're in a suburban area like I am, within about 15 miles. You don't want to really travel longer than that. People will. They'll come from all over. If you're on fire, they'll come 30, 40 minutes, an hour drive to come to your office for a 1-minute adjustment. They will do it, but when you're looking at volumes of scale, you want to be within 15 minutes of wherever they work or live. Then we went to 3 locations. We run a 100% non-insurance based practice. It's a membership-based family wellness practice. And we grew to the top 1% of chiropractic clinics nationally. In 2021, I was taking care of a big part of the tribal council for Viejas, and then we were awarded a contract to be the exclusive chiropractic provider for Viejas Casino and the Viejas Band of Kumeyaay Indians. We take care of thousands of their employees in our existing offices, and now we have 6 other companies under contract directly with us. We do a wellness program, so there's no insurance involved, and then they sign up for a wellness care program, and then we treat them as a result. And then what I do in my spare time is I write these little children's books. You guys all have a story of someone that got well in your office. One of your favorite stories, right? You can think about that story. Can you think about that story? What if we wrote it into a little 24-page children's color book, and then told the chiropractic story and those principles throughout that book? And then people could read it, and they could have your practice name and everything kind of included into that. And then they could buy it on Amazon for $10. And then when they buy it, it's printed, bound, and shipped directly to their door in 2 days. That's how I want to be remembered for in chiropractic, is I want to tell the story over and over and over again in that way, and I want to do it with other chiropractors. BJ bought a radio station to scream the principles of chiropractic. Now I have Amazon at my fingertips, and I can make these little books. I might have a couple here I can show you. And then in 2022, I also bought Chirocom, that little magazine. You guys probably all get it. Anybody get Chirocom? Anybody not get it? It's cool. It's a cool little thing. Like, some guy was selling a whale vertebra for like 2 or 3 years in there, and then someone finally snatched that puppy up. You know, there's random stuff in there. It's classified ads and then seminars and things like this. So it was for sale, and I bought it, and then we made it a really great website, and then we made it an even better app, and then we're taking it nationally, Mark and I and a couple of business partners. If you haven't heard of it before today, you're gonna hear about it in the next couple of years, because it's gonna scream. It's gonna catch on fire. We want it to be the central hub for all things chiropractic: art, science, philosophy. We want to bring back all the goodness that can happen, because I don't know about you, but some of the greatest, the greatest people I've ever met, guess what? They were chiropractors. That's who I want to hang out with. That's who I want to be around. That's who I want to connect with. That's my wife, Summer. I put this in here because I like to stare at her about this time. And she's at home wrestling with her 4 feral children who are incredibly awesome. And we homeschool our kids, and she does all the work. I'm the principal, and they don't have to see me too often in that regard. And this is what it's all about. This is Mrs. Awesome, Sedona Awesome, Sebastian Awesome, Lazarus Awesome, and Tallulah Awesome. Awesomeness has completely overtaken the theme of our family. Every morning we say a little prayer before I leave, and then we do an awesome cheer where we all put our hands and go, 1, 2, 3, we are an awesome family. Ho, 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 woo! We do it at restaurants too. It's the way that we live, right? Life is awesome. There's nothing better than life this side of heaven. Why don't we live an awesome life? And then there's that guy there, and of course Mickey. And then see that guy standing between Mickey and Summer? And he's smiling. Because of a chiropractor. I cannot stop smiling because a chiropractor poured into my life and saved my life. And if it wasn't for a chiropractor, it'd just be Mrs. Awesome and Mickey, because those kids wouldn't be there. Right? And I've never beat up a mouse, but it's not beneath me. Right? Fortunately, I don't have to. All right, you guys get it, I can tell. So we're going to talk about philosophy a little. So we have the triad of health, right? We have structure, and then biochemistry, and then emotional health. And D.D. Palmer said 3 T's cause subluxation, right? Traumas, toxins, and thoughts. And in his day, what did he say was the most common cause of subluxation? Does anyone know? Someone knows. D.D. Palmer said the most common cause of a subluxation in the early 1900s was autosuggestion. It was the thoughts aspect. Isn't that fascinating? Imagine what he would say now. We're so bombarded with everything coming into our head, in our mind, right? So we have to take care of all those things, because you can have a somatosomatic subluxation, right? You can have where you have a physical trauma, like you fall off a ladder. And what does your nervous system do when you fall off a ladder and you have a trauma? We have reflexes. In human beings, the reflex for a physical trauma is this, right? The SOT people would call it dural torque, right? Your body goes into this reflexive twist. When a cat gets stressed out, what do? They go like this. They arch their back and get a poofy tail, right? And in our infinite wisdom, we walk around like this. Have you ever seen a cat walk around like this in fight or flight? It's usually instantaneous. They do it, they fight the coyote or they run from the coyote, and then they get back to living. But human beings, because of this amazing cortex, we can walk around like this and keep doing everyday life. Do you follow me? You see what I'm saying? And have you ever had someone say, all I did, doc, was pick up that pencil and my back went out? Was it the pencil? No, their body was completely on fight or flight like this, and they just kept going and did not get to a place where they would allow themselves to self-regulate. And then boom, it hit. So we can have structural subluxations. If someone is yelling at you on a regular basis, guess what your nervous system is going to do? Same thing. If you look at things that are like toxic for your mind, or you let toxic thoughts into your brain, it's doing this. We're going into that fight or flight mode. Your patients are going into that fight or flight mode. And so that's called a psychosomatic subluxation. Have you ever had food poisoning or a hangover? Probably hangovers from the looks of the room. Come on, my jokes are very funny. Have you ever had a hangover, right? Or you had food poisoning, guess what your guts made your nervous system do? Same thing. So as chiropractors, what is the most amazing thing that we can do by adjusting subluxations, whether they're psychosomatic or viscerosomatic or somatosomatic? It really doesn't matter. That's the whole one cause, one cure. We go through and we remove those subluxations, and what happens? The body, faster than anything I've ever seen, will go from this to that. And then they can breathe. And how many times do your patients say, I don't know what happens, but I kind of float out of here, and sometimes I feel like I'm like really zoned in and I need to take a nap at the same time after an adjustment. Isn't that amazing? It's incredible. So we have that at our fingertips, and we need no special tools in order to do what we do. I got a buddy who practices on an island in Hawaii in bare feet on the sand, walks around, adjusts people, and they put money in a can. Fascinating. I got another buddy who's in a sky rise in Houston, and he's got all this fancy equipment, and he's removing those subluxations and helping sick people get well. We can do it however we want, right? There's no way to do it if you do it with no wrong way to do it if you do it with integrity. There's no wrong way to do it if you do it with integrity. We have to not let anyone change our language. If you change the language and we stop using words like subluxation, and our philosophy is the only reason why we even exist. If it was not for our philosophy that we are removing subluxations from the spine to allow the brain and the body to connect more fully and completely, if it was not for that philosophy, none of us would be called chiropractors. The ones that were thrown in jail would have stayed in jail until they went out and got medical licenses or something else. You guys, are you with me? That's the truth. We can't forget that. Every month in ChiroCom, we do a little tribute to the chiropractic profession. ChiroCom salutes all, the 4 men and women that went before us, and we tell that story. We tell their story. We learn about these chiropractors. We should know their names. Okay. I know I'm preaching to the choir. I hope it doesn't sound like I'm just preaching at you. I hope I'm preaching with you. Okay, so we're gonna go through and do, you guys ever see shoulder problems? That's what we're gonna work on today. I have a protocol that I'm gonna teach you in the next 30 minutes or so that will help 90%, I think, of your non-surgical shoulders. And have you ever had someone who had shoulder surgery? Me too. It is the worst thing to recover from when it comes to joint surgeries, in my opinion. I haven't seen any joint surgery that's harder than a shoulder surgery, so if we could stop those surgeries from happening, that's a good thing. Would you agree? Yeah. So I'll teach you that protocol and we'll do it together, and I hope that you can leave today being able to do it on your next day in practice, because you will be able to make a huge difference. So this is the history of a patient who comes in the office, and Dr. Goodhart, who was the founder of Applied Kinesiology, which is what a lot of my foundation is in technique. I'm not an applied kinesiologist, as it were, where they kind of spend a lot of time on every visit, which there's nothing wrong with that as long as you charge appropriately for your time. But I have that background, so we run a high volume practice, and I saw my 306 people this week already. It's Thursday. I'll be off tomorrow, and then I'll be back at it Monday. I usually see about 100 to 120 a day in about 3.5 day work week. But I always think about the history of the patient when they come in, and Dr. Goodhart said, listen to the patient, they'll tell you what's wrong with them. So usually it's trauma or no trauma, and in that context, we're talking about physical trauma. So they'll say, I had a trauma, I fell down, or I fell off a ladder, or I don't know, it just came on over time. I can't really tell you when it happened. So that's the two categories. These are the things we look at when we're looking at trauma or no trauma. I'm not going to get into the bottom one, but we're going to talk about the top one. There's two types of physical traumas. One is called a sprain strain. It's a shearing injury. Best example is like a rolled ankle, right? The other one is called a compaction. It's where that's like a fall on an outstretched hand, or you fall off a ladder and you land on your butt, compacted, right? Based on how they present when you muscle test them, you can tell which type of injury they had, and then how to treat it, okay? So who has a shoulder that they want me to look at? Yeah, come on up. And chiropractors usually have shoulder issues, because think about what we do all day. If you're doing physical hands-on adjusting, hi, I'm Dr. Awesome. Ethan, good to see you. So is he right here? Thanks for volunteering. Usually I say that, and then the room stares at me for like 5 minutes. It gets really awkward. This is not an awkward group. Congratulations. All right, Ethan, tell us your story, your shoulder story.
Played baseball in college and dove furball, tore my rotator cuff, my labrum, superior and inferior aspect, and had surgery in chiropractic.
Wow, that's incredible. That must have been crazy.
That's all right.
Yeah, it's all right. Okay, so does it hurt?
It gets very sore, hard to lay on it, depending on positioning. With sleep, my hands will go to sleep.
Okay, so we do just a painful arc test. So what we're gonna do is just have a stand, and then we'll do the other side first. So do that right arm. We're just gonna go straight up. Any pain there?
Not too much.
And then do this side.
Just tight through here, and a little bit more towards like that AC joint.
Okay, do it again. You can go up further, but it hurts or it's tight all the way up.
Just tight, tender.
Okay, and then do this side again. So we see the smoothness of the right side, and then the left side, he almost doesn't want to do it, but he can do it, right? Okay, so have a seat here. So we're gonna muscle test the sits muscles. So there's the 4 sits muscles. We're gonna muscle test each and every one of them, and then based on how his body responds to that, we're gonna do the appropriate treatment to that muscle, okay? So there's more than one way to muscle test these, so you may have another way. Tell me later, don't tell us right now. It's weird and awkward. So we'll go here, we're gonna do the teres minor first. So you're gonna push out this way, and I'm gonna push in that way. Go, go, go. And it's nice and strong. When we muscle test, how many muscle testers do you have in the room? Okay. Muscle testing is a great tool. They say seeing is believing. I think feeling is believing. So muscle testing is a great way to have your patient engaged in their healing process, and they will feel a difference. You have to have integrity with your muscle testing, so you can't think it's going to be one way or another. You should totally remain neutral while you're muscle testing, and muscle test with 2 hands. I've had people muscle testing, I'm like, that was goofy, that they weren't integrous with their muscle testing, whether they knew it or not. So make sure you are if you're doing it. So we're gonna go here, and he's pushing out, I'm pushing in. So when we're muscle testing this way, it's increased force over time. So as he's pushing out, I'm increasing my force over time. and I'm seeing if his brain can connect with that muscle and recruit more motor units, because then you'll develop what's called a lock, or we call it strong or on in the muscle testing world. So we're just looking for that muscle to lock, and it's not a big muscle, so I'm not going to overpower him, push, but I'm waiting for it to lock out, all right? Do the same thing. Now we're going to check the supraspinatus. You can muscle test it like this, elbow all the way straight, thumb up, and then he's going to push up, I'm going to push down, and we get a nice lock there, okay? Then we're going to check the subscapularis. So we bend here, we do a 70s handshake, and we go here, and then you're going to push down, and I'm going to push up. Nice and strong. And then we're going to check the infraspinatus. So we're going to go up here, he's going to go back, and then I'm going to go forward. Bring this up. You're going to go back, I'm going to go forward. And that one's off. Go, go, go. I don't know if it hurts, but it's just, there's no lock. I'm barely moving. You feel what I'm feeling? Yeah. And the patient will acknowledge that most of the time. So when we bring him into that position and then he pushes back, it just doesn't lock. When I increase force over time, you push back, I push forward, it just doesn't lock, okay? So he has 3 strong muscles and 1 weak muscle. That tells us that the injury that his body is expressing is a shearing injury. So we're going to treat it by doing an origin and insertion technique to the infraspinatus. And like I know I told you, I run a really high volume practice. Most people, they get adjusted in about 1 to 2 minutes, and then I always have time for questions about their health, but I'm not going to tell them what I barbecued or what football game I did or didn't watch, or if my kids won the soccer game. I'm going to talk about chiropractic. If I stop talking about chiropractic to the patient, they're firing me. They start talking about things like their cat kept them up all night because their cat was vomiting and got sick and had diarrhea. Have you ever had the cat people tell you about their cats who died or didn't die or threw up or kept them up, and that's why they're subluxated? I listen to them, I acknowledge it, I'm empathetic, I love animals, and then I tell them, I think your cat needs to get adjusted. I know a chiropractor who does that because the central nervous system controls and coordinates all function of the body. So let's get your cat adjusted. I lay face down, and then we adjust subluxations, right? Okay. So we're gonna go to the infraspinatus. We did all this. No. All right, we're not going to the PowerPoint. Audible, Omaha is on the other one. All right, so we're going to the infraspinatus, and the origin is back here on the border of the scapula. So we're gonna find where it feels sore, and then we're gonna rub that spot in a non-directional way. So we go to the origin of the muscle, and it's right there. Like I can feel it, he can feel it, and it's like a BB under a piece of bacon, is what Goodhart would say. And then you just rub that spot. So you're just rubbing that spot, and the cool thing, 2 cool things. One is I know that it's sore, and he doesn't have to tell me because I'm a chiropractor, and I have superpowers, and you do too. And what better superpower to have than to know when someone's hurting without them having to tell you? And then you find that spot, and then you just rub it. And then the other cool thing is it starts to get better as I'm rubbing it. It's not one of those points when they have this that it gets worse and worse when you're rubbing it like this. And I'm trying to put the muscle back on the bone. It's like a micro avulsion of the muscle. And so I'm putting that muscle back on the bone. And as I'm rubbing it, I can tell him it's starting to get a little bit better. And then he will agree with me. And then again, I express my superpowers as a chiropractor. Isn't that cool? Very cool. If you want to, you can use a Batman voice or a Superwoman voice, because that's cool too. All right, so here we are. It's getting better and better. And then I'm gonna go here, and I'm gonna find the insertion, which is right in on the bicipital groove somewhere. Right there. And it's the most tender spot, but I don't want it to be going down his arm. So I'll ask him things like, is that tolerable?
Yep.
Because I don't want it to be not tolerable. Why? Because I want him to come to his next visit. And I outsource all my torture. And there are those patients where you feel like it's gotta hurt for them to think they get better. And I'm not gonna be that person for them. I'm gonna send them to the Rolfer. And then that Rolfer is gonna send me other people, and then we have a little network going where I outsource the torture. But it's getting better, right?
Yep.
Nice, Ethan. All right, it's getting a lot better now. Okay, so there we are, that's that. Now then we can muscle test it again. And if I wasn't telling funny jokes, we would have been done in about 30 seconds. Push back for me. On. Yeah. Right, way better, way. So then we can do the same painful arc test. So do that thing again. Smooth as silk. I put that on YouTube. That's cool. Then it's going to come back though. Come back every time. Why? So we got to take it to the master system. We got to remove the subluxation in that C5, C6 that's going and it's affecting the healing pathway for that shoulder. Can I adjust your neck?
Yes, please.
Lay on your back. I ask every patient this every first visit whenever, adjust them for the first time. Ethan, have you ever had an adjustment that you didn't like or didn't work well for you?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Tried to muscle through. Wasn't smooth. And I fought it. So it was painful.
So too much force, not enough finesse, and they didn't tune into your body.
Yep.
Okay, that's not gonna happen here. Thanks for letting me know, okay? You know why I asked that? Because I have the same experience. I don't like prone cervical breaks. I don't like the name of it for one. For two, I can't unguard when I'm in that position. So if I as a chiropractor have a move I don't like, is it possible that your chiropractic patients who've been to 3, 4, maybe even one chiropractor have a move that they don't like? In my practice, 8 out of 10 people have already seen another chiropractor and been through a course of care. Is that true for you guys? What's it for you?
Same.
About 8 out of 10, right? Sometimes it's less. And in that context, it behooves us to know why they left their other chiropractor. Maybe that chiropractor retired, or maybe they didn't like technique, or maybe the front desk was rude on one day or another. Who knows? But it's important for us to open up the dialogue so that they can express that. I had a patient say, I'm so glad you asked that because my other chiropractor, I told her, I was with her for 8 years. I told her that I was getting headaches when she was adjusting my neck. And she just kept adjusting it the same way. So I decided I was just gonna leave. I'm like, wow, that's incredible. Like, we wanna use the activator for a little while and you tell me when you wanna change technique. As long as it doesn't go against my integrity, it's a combination of clinical expertise and patient preference. And their preference trumps my expertise any day of the week, right? It's their body, okay? All right, so we're gonna adjust C5. And I learned to adjust in my 10th year of being a chiropractor. I learned to adjust the cervical spine with my fingertips. Because if you're gonna, that's fine. If you're gonna adjust the cervical spine, look at this spine. And if you're in practice and you're in between patients this week, one of the things I hope you do, that I inspired you to do, is look at this spine. This is a marvel of engineering. Its job is to protect and provide flexibility. Those are two opposite spectrum situations. So it does that. And if I'm gonna adjust the cervical spine, I was taught to put my hand here and go like this and adjust. How am I gonna do that? I gotta get my finger in there and be right on the spinous. Otherwise I'm on all the soft tissue, right? So I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna find where it is. I'm gonna find that subluxation. And most importantly, I'm not gonna talk because I'm gonna let my adjustment do the talking. And I can barely do one thing at once, let alone two things at once. And I'm gonna be attuned to him because he just said he got the bad adjustment because they muscled through and they weren't tuned in. So I'm gonna set the intention to remove the subluxation. I'm gonna tune into him and then I'm gonna release that subluxation with my fingertips in the cervical spine. Take your hat. It's right there. C5 left. So we cup the ear. My fingertips right next to the spinous process. And this is a 45-degree angle that way. So I gotta get my whole body over here. And then it's like throwing a ball. You okay? Beautiful. Other side. Tell them louder in the back so they can hear you.
That was really good.
Appreciate you, Ethan. Thanks for letting me help you.
Thank you. I appreciate
You got it, brother. All right. How we doing on time? I gotta leave it.
You could go up until 4.
I can go up until 3:50. Good.
Yeah, but do you have time?
No, I gotta be.
Oh, okay, yeah, you're good, yeah.
Okay.
You're good, yeah.
Okay, this is the part where I say any questions and then I stare at you until someone asks a question. So I'm giving you the cheat code before we go. Any questions on that? All right, we'll do one more. I'm Dr. Awesome, healthcare superhero. All chiropractors wear capes, some of them are invisible. If you think that my shoes are flashy, you should see my cape. All right, you got a shoulder?
Both.
Go like this.
Yeah.
Any pain?
Just clunk.
Clunk?
Yeah.
Do this side. Pain?
No clunk on that one, but sometimes.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're gonna do the same thing. We'll do this side because there's a clunk on this side. We're gonna do the middle deltoid first. Push up for me. And then bring it down here. Push out for me. And then up here. Supraspinatus. Elbow has to be locked. Push up for me. That's the one. Push, push, push. And he's really strong, but it just doesn't lock. See how it kind of shimmies like that? Push, push, push.
Yeah.
And then go here. And then you're going to push down for me. I'm going to push up. Good. That locking is what we're looking for. And then here. And then you're going to push back. I'm going to push forward. Nice and strong lock. So his is what? Supraspinatus. So we're going to go, that's in the root of the scapula. And then it goes down in here, somewhere in the bicipital groove. You can look it up. Einstein said don't memorize anything you can look up in a book or talk to ChatGPT about, right? So we go right there. Perfect. Tolerable.
Yep.
It's my favorite word. And I say things like this: I don't want to hurt you, I want to help you. Patients love those little like mesmerizing phrases. Who's got a favorite table talk that they have right now? Anybody? Oh, you gotta have table talk. What about a bond out? What's your favorite bond out? Example. I hope you have an awesome day.
Thank you. You too.
To bond out. That's when they know that the treatment is done, right? One of my buddies, his was power on. He said, I'll say power on every adjustment when I'm finished, or your visit is free. Freaking brilliant. You know why? Because all he had to do is say power on and they all knew it was over. And they were ready to go back to the rest of their life. Not talk about, politics or sports or cats vomiting and having diarrhea all night. Got a lot of energy on that one. Love cats. So we found the spot, it's tender, it's tolerable though, right?
Yeah.
One of my favorite bond out right now is thanks for letting me help you. You know why? Guess what they say? Thanks for helping me. And all they do is affirm that I helped them. You can lead people one of three ways. This is logic dictates. The same, better, or worse. In every way. Energetically. Same, better, or worse. It's almost impossible to leave someone exactly the same as before you interacted with them. Would you agree?
Yeah.
So then you're down to two. You can leave them better or worse. So what do? Leave them better. Increase that vibrational state that they have in their body. Tell them they're awesome. Believe in them. They just need someone to believe in them. They need so little encouragement. And you don't know what you're doing. And maybe, I don't mean to say it like that. We don't know what we're doing sometimes. When you look at a teenager who's just going through it and you're like, hey, at the end of the adjustment, and you just look at him and you say, hey, you're awesome. Like, Dr. Awesome thinks I'm awesome, it must be true. And then who knows, they might be having a terrible time. but that little bit of encouragement goes a huge, huge way. All right, so now we're gonna test this again. Straight there, straight, straight, straight. And then push up. Better? Awesome. Do the clunk thing again. Still clunking?
A little bit, but.
Okay,
better.
32
Yeah.
visits, pay in full.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You want, let me adjust your neck. On your back. So same thing, and look at the, when